Friends, the last 3 months have been horrible for Watchtower Corporation, as it seems the bad news just keeps coming to them from all fronts. On November 5th, they faced the determination of the vast apostate army, vividly demonstrated in those powerful videos, where some of these brave ones entered kingdom halls, bringing truth and vital information to those inside, along with the powerful persuasion of their own incredibly poignant personal testimonies. And inside those kingdom halls, did you notice that they appeared to be half empty? This reveals another huge problem facing the Watchtower here in the United States and Canada: the continuing exodus, forcing the sale of kingdom halls and the merger of congregations in order to remain economically viable. But nowhere has the news been worse than on the legal front, particularly in Canada. Just this September 15th, a class action lawsuit was filed in Montreal in the Superior Court of Quebec, seeking $250,000 for each and every Jehovah's Witness victim of child, I can't say the S word because I'll get censored, abuse, who comes forward in the province of Quebec. Now, while at first this may not sound like a huge amount of money, keep in mind that for every 4 victims who comes forward in the province of Quebec, that lawsuit increases by $1 million. Then only 11 days later, on September 26th, another large class action lawsuit was filed in the Superior Court of Ontario, this one seeking $66 million for all persons in the class of Jehovah's Witnesses child abuse victims throughout the nation of Canada. Then, on November the 2nd, the case of a Calgary, Canada Jehovah's Witness who was disfellowshipped was heard by the Supreme Court of Canada. Now, all this disfellowshipped witness is asking is that the case be reviewed by a court of law to determine whether or not the elders of his judicial committee followed the Watchtower's own written policies and procedures during the course of his judicial hearing. Now, the 2 lower courts have already ruled that indeed this case should be reviewed by a court of law. But Watchtower has appealed it all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. I really want to thank Dallas, Canada, for these clips of the entire Supreme Court of Canada hearing of this case, which was held on November 2nd. Now, Dallas, Canada has already posted on his channel a video which contains this entire hearing that is over 3 hours long, and I encourage you to go to his channel and view as much of this hearing as you like. I posted a link to his complete video below. In this first clip, we will see how readily the Watchtower lawyer misrepresents facts in court and avoids telling the court the entire truth when asked a direct question by a justice of the Supreme Court. Now, this particular justice asked one of the best questions of the whole hearing. He's flipping through his brief of the case, and he runs across 3 chapters taken from the Shepherd, the Flock of God book. He says, I see this information on preparing for a judicial hearing, procedure for a judicial hearing, and appeal procedure. And he asks, is this information available to all members of the congregation? And is this information available to prospective members of the congregation? Now, we know the answer to that this book is not available to anyone in the congregation other than the elders, and certainly not to people who are considering joining the congregation. Notice how the Watchtower lawyer answers this crucial question.
We're talking about a religious organization, and in Canada, a small voluntary organization.
Can you just tab 2 of your friend's compendium? Appended, it looks like, to the affidavit of Mr. Wall. Just help me out. What is this? Is this where I'm looking at sort of after the affidavit? There's something called preparing for judicial hearing, and then there's another over the page, judicial hearing procedure, and then there's something about appeal hearing. Where does this come from? Are these the rules of the church?
This affidavit, Justice Moldaver, was provided by Mr. Wall as part of his originating application for judicial review.
Right. And
what he's attached were exhibits to that affidavit. He says that he found them on the internet. This is the direction given to the elders to help them, to assist them, to give them guidance.
Well, are the congregants aware of this and aware of the procedures that the church itself has put in place? I'm just trying to understand what's going on here.
The congregation is aware. There is, when the congregation, as is brought out in the facts of the case and is in our factum, before a member joins the congregation, before they're baptized, they go through a process of 80 questions that they answer. They're given a handbook of the organization, which points out the procedures, the generous religious practices of the organization. So they understand that that handbook contains the idea of a judicial committee, a hearing before a judicial committee. And the whole procedure is simply to help the sinner understand this is serious. You have to, you just can't chew gum in church. This is not that kind of problem. We're talking about a serious moral problem where the elders have to intervene.
Does the congregant have a right to expect that if, in fact, he or she is being looked at for some error that they committed or sin that they committed, and where the possibility of disfellowship is being considered, do they have the right to expect that these rules, these principles, whatever they are, will be followed by the church? That's a simple question. I mean,
And the simple answer, Justice Moldaver, is absolutely. Absolutely. Not out of contract.
Pardon?
Not out of contract. Absolutely out of religious obligation.
So if they're not followed, it doesn't matter, because I'm just trying to, again, understand this. You create certain rules that allows congregants to come forward and give their side of the story and so forth, so on and so forth. But if they're not followed, too bad. The courts cannot interfere, and that's the nature of it, because the only issue at stake is your membership. Is that the idea?
That is, Justice Moldaver, as extreme as you put it, that is the position. Because the process is religious. To look at it is invidious interference with religious belief.
So you don't agree?
In this clip, we just heard the Watchtower lawyer avoid telling the whole truth. You can call it prevarication, theocratic warfare, total hogwash, or plain old Bravo Sierra, if you like. Which brings me to my last point. By using this claim of religious freedom and a tactic that Watchtower uses so well, fear, they have been able to get 12 worldly organizations to send lawyers to argue in defense of the Watchtower before the Supreme Court of Canada. 9 of these organizations are religious, and 3 of them are political. And I think they were able to do this by reaching out to them, and I will say allegedly, reaching out to them and saying, look, if this case is allowed to be reviewed by the court, which just merely involves our own internal membership decisions, then your religious liberties and your religious freedoms are also at risk. Now, this shows extreme hypocrisy, because if any Jehovah's Witness were to support any of these religious or political organizations in any way, they would be kicked out so fast it would make their head swim. But yet, anything is acceptable and anything is lawful for Watchtower if it helps them to win a court case. Now, I want you to listen to the names of these 12 organizations that appeared to speak in defense of the Watchtower before the court in the order that they appeared.
Lawyers who are often on the forefront
First,
of disputes.
the Canadian Muslim Lawyers
The
Association.
interveners here are unanimous that the state cannot get involved or entangled in religion.
Religious
The Canadian
membership is a
Council
private
of
matter
Christian
that does not
Charities.
engage a public interest. The law is not equipped to
The Association for Reformed Political Action in Canada.
So the question is, does the judiciary of the decisions
The
of
Canadian
private
Constitution
voluntary
Foundation.
organizations? I say this is misconceived because it ignores the necessity that
The Evangelical Fellowship of Canada.
not only of individuals but also of religious communities and organizations.
The Catholic Civil Rights League. The Christian Legal Fellowship.
To that end, I plan to briefly address 2 points. First, the right to autonomous
World
religious
Sikh
communities is
Organization
fundamental
of Canada.
principle.
The court exercises its jurisdiction to judicially review the
The Seventh-day Adventist Church in
exercise
Canada.
of freedom of religion under the Charter. That concept is discussed under tab 4 of
Justice Center for Constitutional
First is that
Freedoms.
no individual has a right to compel unwilling associations. The second is
The
that
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Canada.
law
The British
governs
Columbia
the
Civil
relationship
Liberties
with rights.
Association.
In this sense, I'm going to pick up on some of the submissions of the appellant and Mr. Gillowitz for this evening.
Friends, more absurd contradictions and extreme hypocrisy from Watchtower. Thanks for listening.